What is up, sports geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode, joined by Alec. As always, back with 6 players here for week 7. First of all, shout out to the love showed on week 6 last week. Hit 1,000 views on that episode. Absolutely awesome. So thank you for all the love on that video. But I think this week's going to be better because Alec, we've talked a little bit about our 6 guys here. We feel good about our 6 guys. What's that?
We're going perfect.
Yeah, we are. We're due for a perfect, and I think this is a perfect week for it. So we have week 7 here, 6 guys. Alec, we'll just go ahead and hop right into it. Who is your first one here?
Yeah, so so that the theme of my week is going to be volume.
Okay.
So I'm going 3 running backs this week, kind of a sneak peek here. Just make sure you watch the whole episode. So we're going Chuba Hubbard as my first guy.
Okay.
So Chuba Hubbard, I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to be back this week or next week. He was limited at practice yesterday. Didn't see what he was today. Chuba's been balling out. So they're playing Washington this week. Chuba Hubbard right now is the 5th overall PPR running back, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But his volume. So last week he had 23 total touches. He's going to be around that 20 mark again. Washington's defense has been playing not so great. Jaden Daniels is balling out. I mean, the Bengals looked great against him. A couple other teams have looked good against them. Baltimore last week, Derrick Henry just ran for however many yards against them. So
yeah,
I think Chuba Hubbard could have a big week this week.
No, I like Chuba Hubbard, and I love the volume there. Like these are guys who are not. I mean, guys that Chuba Hubbard was not drafted as a starter, right? But you should be starting him this week. And the volume is there. And I think part of the reason why Jonathan Brooks isn't being rushed back is because of how well Hubbard's been playing, right? Like Hubbard has won the backfield this year so far. There's no reason to bring Jonathan Brooks in and say, hey, you've played great. Sorry. We're going to give it to the rookie here who's coming fresh off of a nasty ACL injury. No, even if Brooks were to play this week, he's going to be at like a maximum 5 to 8 touches. Yep. And those 5 to 8 touches are going to be Miles Sanders touches, all of Miles Sanders, and maybe like 2 or 3 of Chuba Hubbard. So, no, I love that pick. If you would have told me we were starting off the show with 2 Carolina Panthers, I don't know how high I would be on that, but I love Deontay Johnson here this week, and he's my first start. So you have 3 running backs. I have 2 wide receivers, so I'll balance it out a little bit here. Okay. But Deontay Johnson, I think, is set up. I mean, I was on him 2 weeks ago, right? And he had a dud week. And the dud week against the Bears, I'm watching the game. That was probably my first issue is watching the Bears-Panthers game. But there were probably 3 or 4 times. One of them was called for a holding. 2 or 3 times where Andy Dalton just missed him, where Deontay Johnson was open for, at the absolute minimum, 20-plus yards. I mean, one of them was a 40-yard touchdown if he doesn't get held. Another one was every bit of 30, 35 yards. And so, like, he ends up having a terrible week, right? I think he put up like 4 PPR points or something. That was nearly a 20-plus point week. And then we saw it again last week. So what I'm seeing out of Deontay Johnson is clearly he's Andy Dalton's favorite target. And that was why I was on him 2 weeks ago. And we kind of got screwed by him just because of the inefficient targets. But I don't think that's something we're going to see here. Washington cannot cover. They just cannot. They just gave up like 114 yards to Zay Flowers last week. I would expect Deontay Johnson, who is a similar kind of route runner to Zay Flowers, to be able to torch this Washington defense. I also think that after in the entirety of the second half, there's going to be dump offs to Chuba Hubbard. There's going to be a lot of passes thrown to Deontay Johnson in a PPR format. I'm all over him this week,
especially when you think they're going to be in a trailing script. So they should be. So the target should be there for Deontay Johnson for sure. I love him this week. That's great.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my second here just because I think it rolls perfectly into what we were just talking about. It is my one running back. It's Brian Robinson because of exactly what we were just talking about. We think the Commanders are going to be winning. So does Vegas. I think it's like an 8.5 point spread. But they're going to be winning this game. And when Brian Robinson is healthy, we've seen an unreal usage rate and an unreal efficiency rate from him. They can move the ball. Jaden Daniels is such a threat on the ground that it makes defenses open up for Brian Robinson. We've seen that so much. And also, Dan Quinn does not want Jaden Daniels to get hit too much. So if you're in the lead of a game, then I mean Jeremy McNichols is going to get some touches because he's
Yeah.
their expendable running back.
Yep.
But Brian Robinson, I mean, you monitor his practices, right? I think he was a full participant yesterday, so I'm not concerned about him unless he gives a limited today or tomorrow. But I love Brian Robinson this week, and also Carolina's rushing defense. It was bad when Derek Brown was healthy. With no Derek Brown, this rushing defense is atrocious. They're giving up like 4.5 yards per carry. I think they're giving up like 153 yards per game on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Jaden Daniels is going to torch him for 50 to 60. I have no doubt of that. Brian Robinson is going to get him for probably like 70 to 80 and a touchdown. I would feel pretty confident. I love Brian Robinson this week.
I think a Brian Robinson anytime touchdown this week would feel pretty good.
Yes. I have no clue what the odds. They're probably minus 200.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love Brian Robinson this week for the reasons you just said. Panthers stink. Should be a positive game script.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you for your second here.
Oh, yeah, for my second guy. So kind of still going on the volume train. I'm going Kareem Hunt here. I think that this is a great matchup for him this week. I think it's going to be the best matchup of the week. It's going to be the best game of the week. Is this on CBS or is this the Fox game? Is it CBS?
I don't know. Where's it at? Because whichever team's home, that's who. Because CBS has the AFC, and then Fox.
It's Fox. So it's going to be the Brady game. That's going to be awesome. So yeah, I like Kareem Hunt this week. He's definitely the bell cow of this offense. He almost had 30 touches last game, so he's definitely going to kind of be that guy until Isaiah Pacheco comes back. Even though this 49ers defense is pretty good, you can't beat having 20 plus touches as a flex. So you probably pick this guy up as, off the waiver wire for sure. Unless you're just, a future teller and you knew that the Chiefs were going to re-sign him because he wasn't even on a team. So you're definitely playing him as like your second flex, and he's a must-start.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, the volume there alone, and the Chiefs have not had the passing like volume and success that you would expect them to have. And now the 49ers secondary is the shaky part of their defense. But I also think they've been susceptible to being beat by the run as well. So I mean, Kareem Hunt, clearly they have shown a desire to give him the ball. And you get within the 5-yard line, which they're going to do at least once or twice. He's going to get at least a touch or two. If you're going to give a running back 3-4 red zone touches within their, to goal to go touches, I absolutely love the play there too. So no, I love Kareem Hunt there as well. I'm gonna go ahead and with my third here. So I mentioned I had 2 receivers here. This one I have a little bit of an asterisk next to because it is only if Joe Flacco plays. If Joe Flacco plays, which I'm kind of, it's being, I'm torn, right? I don't know if based off, I think Richardson practiced yesterday. I haven't seen today's designation yet, but it's still kind of shaky. If Flacco plays, Josh Downs is a must start. In the 3 weeks with Joe Flacco, he's the wide receiver 5 in fantasy football and PPR. He's averaging like 19.5 points per game. He's playing unreal. He's averaging 10 targets per game. It's spectacular what he's doing. And he just runs routes that fit with how Flacco likes to play, right? He's not mobile, get the ball out quickly. And that's exactly how Downs plays out of the slot. A-Rich is somebody that wants to take his time and throw it 60 yards downfield. Somebody like Alec Pierce, that's a perfect fit for him. Not so much for Josh Downs. So if A-Rich plays, this is no longer going to be, is no longer a must start. It's kind of one of those where we have to get it out on Thursday. Realistically, this should be one that you're making as soon as they make the quarterback designation. But if Flacco plays, Downs is a must start for me.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And Downs is like the perfect guy for Joe Flacco. He's kind of like how Amari Cooper boomed last year when Joe Flacco started playing. It's kind of the same thing. I'm not saying Josh Downs is as good as Amari Cooper, but it's just kind of like similar to last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last guy. So I actually have a 2-for-1 here. I wanted to say one more guy.
Okay.
So Tank Bigsby, you have to start if ETN's out. Doug Peterson said Travis Etienne was week to week, but I just checked before we started. He had another limited practice today. That's 2 limited practices in a row, so he might play. He might be active.
Yeah.
So that if Travis Etienne's active, you do not want to start Tank Bigsby. It's just going to be a cluster. You're not going to be able to kind of know the snap share with everything like that. But one must start, and I wanted to say this: Tank Dell, you have to start.
Yes, the
Tank
tanks. You're
Dell.
on the tanks this week.
Yeah, so I forgot about this while we were talking earlier. You got to start Tank Dell. He might be my flag plan of the week. When so when it's either him and Nico or him and Stefan, or like last year when it was just him and Nico, he smashes. He led the Texans the last week with a 30% target share. CJ Stroud loves him.
Yeah.
So I really like Tank Dell this week and the next couple weeks when Nico's out.
Yeah, no, I love Tank Dell as well, and I think this week they're not favored this week. Like this is a week where they might actually have to play a little bit of catch up. Last week that's the thing that we kind of ran into, right? Is that they were thrashing New England, so you put up a lot of points, but Stroud threw the ball 31 times, which you'd like to think is on the lower end for quarterbacks, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
So if you're in a losing game script, he's going to be throwing the ball 40, 45 times 45 times this Sunday. Tank Dell's going to get 12 of those.
Yep. Even if he's at a 25% target share, he's getting 11 of those if he throws 40 to 44 times. So, I think he's just a smash play.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's hard for me to think with no Nico, if you give Tank and Diggs a 30% target share, who's making up the other 40%? Right.
Yeah.
Schultz is going to get some, right? Don't get me wrong. Akers just gets traded to the Vikings. Mixon's going to get some, but you're not making up 40% with them. So no, I love the Tank Dell one. Talk about Tank Bigsby a little bit more though.
Yeah. So Tank Bigsby, I think he's the bell cow when they're not in a trailing game script.
Yeah.
Because last week I think Dearness Johnson had 57% of the snap share after halftime, but they were down by 3 scores. So I think Dearness Johnson is definitely the third down back when Etienne's out, but Tank Bigsby potentially in a positive game script this week could get 15 plus carries against a really bad Patriots defense.
Yes. No, I love that. I know we touched on Tank Bigsby earlier and then kind of jumped over to Tank Dell. So I love hearing a little bit more about Bigsby there. Yeah. I was on him last week and kind of got screwed from exactly what you were saying, right? One other name I want to throw out, and this is not in our 6 here, but just to monitor because he very well could be one of mine next week, is Demario Douglas, because we saw Drake May last week, right? And he had some chemistry with Demario Douglas. And that's kind of something that we see too as rookie quarterbacks, as young quarterbacks come in. They like those dump downs, right? They like those shorter passes, get the ball out of my hands. The same reason that Bryce Young made Adam Thielen fantasy relevant last year for the first 8 weeks of playing with him. I wouldn't be surprised if Demario Douglas is that guy for Drake May. Last week, he had a good week. I think he had 6 or 8 catches. This week is kind of my telling week, right? Jacksonville's secondary actually stinks. Yeah. So if you're in a really deep league, I do think that Demario Douglas wouldn't be a bad shout. But this is kind of my telling week. Okay, give it a full week of practice. Again, are you showing me that chemistry again? But I don't be surprised if you were watching this our video for next week and I'm saying Demario Douglas. It's going to be because he probably had another good week this week.
Yeah, no, I love that. I actually love Demario Douglas this week. I thought he played great last week. I think he popped last year too. It's just their quarterback play has been so bad. Yeah, he hasn't really had a chance.
He's a very similar player to Josh Downs. Runs in the slot. Just runs. If you're looking at for someone to run a zig route for a 4-yard zig route, they're in man-to-man coverage, nobody's staying with him. So for a quarterback, that's an easy pass to hit, right? That you're not, and it's a risk-free, relatively risk-free. So I love Josh Downs this week. I am on the verge of Demario Douglas being added to our list of 10 or 12 guys that we kind of bounce back and forth between. But other than that, though, those are the 6 guys with a little 2 or 3 bonus names there just thrown in at the end, but not counting towards the official 6. Those are the 6 guys that we have for this week. We'll run through them real quick. So we have Deontay Johnson against the Commanders, Brian Robinson versus the Panthers, and if Joe Flacco plays, Josh Downs versus the Dolphins. And then we have Chuba Hubbard versus the Commanders, Tank Bigsby if Travis Etienne does not play against the Patriots, and then Kareem Hunt versus the 49ers. 6 guys, maybe only 4 guys, depending on injuries. But I have a feeling we're going perfect this week, Alec. So
this is the week. We've been so close. We've been unlucky, some
yes.
would say. So this is the week.
Yes, been unlucky with some huge crushing weeks though. Algier last week was one that we had big, right? McLaurin last week was one. You had Swift versus Carolina, which was a massive one. We've had some huge hits here, and I think it's just a matter of time before we strike all at once. And I think this week's the week. So, other than that, though, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.